Welcome to the Countertop Success Podcast, a show created to inspire countertop fabricators and installers to build a thriving countertop business. I'm your host, Stephen Alberts, the founder of the Countertop Marketing Company, the #1 digital marketing agency for the countertop industry. On each episode, I'm going to dive into tips and strategies that you can follow to help grow your countertop company. And we'll also talk to leading experts in the industry on how they found success in their countertop business. All right, welcome to the podcast. I'm Steven from the Countertop Marketing Company, and today we're doing a new series with the Rockheads where we interview different vendors and shops that are a part of the Rockheads. And today we're going to talk to Tony DeSantis, the CEO at Ving, about challenges fabricators have with their employees and technology that can help solve some of these issues. Welcome to the show, Tony.
All right. Thanks, man. Glad to be here.
Yeah, for sure. I know from my end, we had some scheduling issues where I like to embarrass myself sometimes during these things, but I couldn't fully, we're a technology company, marketing company, all of that, but I couldn't fully figure out Zoom, how to record and get it perfectly. So again, like to embarrass myself right at the beginning.
Hey, no problem anymore. It's like, who knows what service you're using today? WebEx, GoToMeeting, Zoom, all that good stuff. But here we are, we're connected and we're ready to go.
Yeah, sounds good. All right, so let's jump right in. So what are some of the top challenges that companies who employ people, with skilled trades such as fabricators commonly face?
Sure. So first of all, as CEO, co-founder of the Ving technology platform, we work with companies coast to coast in what we call the skilled trades area. So anything with construction, manufacturing, service, and the trades. So in particular, we work with the Rockheads Group and the Natural Stone Institute, and a lot of the companies that are members of those two organizations, which are great organizations. If you're not familiar with them, you should go look them up. Excellent way to share best practices and to really benchmark your own business against new and exciting ways to get the job done. But when we talk to these business owners across the country, what we typically find is there's three overarching common areas that consistently come up as the biggest challenges. And those have to do with scarcity of labor, new hire ramp-up time, and ongoing sustainment of processes around compliance activities. So safety, quality, company policy. It's when you talk about the scarcity of labor issue, and you think about going across the country and you're in conferences and you're in networking meetings, and you can't be in a conference where this topic doesn't come up. It is literally everywhere. Manpower Group did a study and found that 69 point some high percent, so call it 70% of small business owners cannot find skilled trade labor to fill open positions. And then when they do, the national average of turnover is so high that they're on a constant treadmill of trying to find, replace over and over and over. It's just one of those things that just really is plaguing the skilled trade industry.
Yeah.
And there was a poll done by the National Small Business Federation, showed that 52% of current positions go unfilled. Man, if I was in high school today and I didn't know what I wanted to do, I would go to learn a skilled trade without a doubt. These guys have great careers, are making great money, and can have immediate job placement. And the second thing around new hire ramp up, so you get a person. First of all, they were hard to find. Now I finally get them and I've got to train them. Well, in the fabrication business and, in any skilled trade business, it's not an overnight ramp up if they're a brand new person. It's anywhere from a couple of months to 6 to 12 months, depending upon the level of skill that the person needs to have. So you, as a business owner, have a lot invested in finding the person, and training the person and keeping the person.
Oh, yeah.
Then once you got this employee base, the third thing that we just mentioned was the ongoing compliance. Um, Most of the businesses that we work with across the Rockheads Group and or Natural Stone Institute, or a lot of the customers that make up our portfolio, range between 25 and 300 employees. And typically in that size of a company, you don't have the luxury of having a training department and a safety department, and you have people that wear multiple hats. So your VP of operations is not only running projects, scheduling projects, but is also the person doing the safety training.
Yeah.
Your HR manager is the one doing the new hire and the onboarding, as well as payroll and everything else. So sustaining processes around compliance for safety, quality, company policy becomes a big challenge. And they're big time hogs, all three of these things.
Yeah.
Taking higher level, senior level people away from value add tasks down into the blocking and tackling over and over and over, day in and day out. And it really becomes a challenge.
Yeah. And it's, well, it's interesting because it's finding the employee, right? That's not easy because we work with many shops, and our part is to help them grow online, get more leads, get more business, grow that retail side of their business. But we know that they struggle. Some of the shops struggle with finding help, but then keeping someone, training them, getting them up to speed, and then if they leave, then doing it all over again. So it's like an endless cycle.
And it's an endless cycle that's expensive.
Yeah.
So, when you think about the average person, to find them, statistics show that it's 1.5 times that individual's annual salary for the year. So by the time you find them and bring them in to the organization, you've already invested that much money in whatever individuals you're going to try to procure for your particular company. So you better have strategies on how you're going to keep them, right?
Yeah. You need that in place. You need processes in place.
Absolutely.
So out of the three challenges, they seem to be very people centric versus something like a challenge with, getting raw material to fulfill an order, or, maybe a machine that is on back order, delaying work. I know you work with business owners who require skilled trades to get the job done. Is there a common overarching observation you have that maybe each share when it comes to the people side of the business?
Yeah, absolutely there is. So what we find is that business owners in that core employee base that we talked about and the people that work for them are so focused on running the business, getting the job done, scheduling, procuring materials, making sure equipment's ready, selling, delivering, handling problems, all of that stuff. That when it comes time to dedicating to overcoming those three challenges, it's very hard to find time in the day. One of those big observations that I have on an ongoing basis is that while CEOs and owners tend to do a lot of the blocking and tackling related to making sure their business stays profitable, the component that they really need to add to their plate is to ensuring a sense of connectedness to their employee base, and making sure that that employee clearly understands how they fit into the organization. Research shows that individuals who feel more empowered in their position, research shows that people who understand what their position does in relationship to the big picture of the business are more likely to stay at an organization. So the more connected I feel to my job and what I do and how it fits into the bigger picture, the more likely I am to take pride in what I do and understand that what I'm doing is actually a valuable component to the rest of this business.
Yeah.
One of the key things is that supervisor needs to really have a sincere appreciation and treat the individual as a respected contributor to the whole.
Yeah.
And so what we see is that there's a lot of leadership out there that they do a great job. And they have things throughout the year, and they really maintain, those quarterly meetings, and they have activities, maybe like company picnics and things like that. But what we're talking about is the day-to-day stuff, where people really understand how they fit together. So think about an analogy like a puzzle. If you're a puzzle piece and you're looking at the board and you see all the interlocking pieces and you know exactly where you fit, and you put your puzzle piece into that image and you complete it, I was the one that was like the interlocking piece that made this happen. So if I know where my piece fits into the big picture, not only do I know, most puzzle pieces, like have 2 or 3 prongs, I know how I affect what's coming in, what's going out, and how it connects the rest of the entire picture to the company. So I tend to take more pride in what I do.
Yeah.
And if business leadership would take a look at their organization and say, how can we develop empowering positions where the individual, that frontline worker, the person with the mud on their boots, the gloves on their hands, and the hard hat on their head, understands that they're much bigger and they're much more integral to the thing than exactly what they're just working on today. Moving a slab from A to B, or grinding a slab, or whatever they're doing. Seeing that finished product is a big deal.
Yeah. It's good points. I mean, I think it comes down to company culture, right? Having that company culture where someone has the clear roles that they should be, the job for their job, those clear roles defined, but then just feeling like they should fit in, like as a remote company, which is our company, we're all working from home. It's tough to have that culture, but for a fabricator, everything's in-house. There's a shop. You could really kind of make people feel good about what they do every day. And just, again, the better you feel, like even when I'm working on a project at my house, when it's done, I like to look at it. I feel good. You just feel that type of, that sense of accomplishment that just, again, it just makes you feel good. So if you could have that for your employees while they're working, hey, that's a home run, and you'll keep those employees. They'll be happier. They'll do better work. So, I mean, it's just it's a great cycle for your business, and, just for the people that you want, the people that work for you to be happy, right? And enjoy what they do.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. Yep.
So, all right, cool. So what about, how can technology solve some of these issues? And, talk a little bit about how Ving can help with some of this.
Yeah. So what I would encourage business owners to do is to really look into 2 key areas where they can really impact the understanding and add value and empowerment to that individual as to how they are connected to the rest of the organization. And those 2 areas have to do with, one is, thinking about your training processes. And 2 is thinking about the kind of information that people need to have immediately accessible to stay compliant while on the job. So if you're looking at the analogy of the puzzle piece, is that if I'm not educated or trained on exactly how I fit in, and then what I need to exactly do to deliver a quality job safely, to ensure that I fit in and help, to build on time, then I'm going to feel disconnected from that organization.
Yep.
So by focusing in on my training process, I can look for opportunities to create a heightened sense of connectedness. But I also have to not only focus in on the content that I'm using, but focus in on my methodology. The fancy word in education and training is pedagogy, the methodology of training people.
Okay.
So we have different types of learners. We have modern learners, traditional learners, we have generational gap learners. And so we have to take pause and take a look at what is my business made up of, and how do I look at this? So if you're an organization, for example, that does a lot of in-person training, you're just traditional, that's what you like to do. There's nothing wrong with that. But what you need to understand is, are you missing an opportunity to create a heightened sense of connectedness? Are you missing an opportunity to drive engagement with your employees higher? What do you do after that event-based training to help people to recall, reuse, retain, recall, and reuse the information that they went through? Learning Magazine and Learning Specialists have done studies year over year, as well as if you Google it, you'll find that, I don't know, it was close to 80 years ago where somebody discovered the rate of forgetfulness curve. And this has to do with what happens in a trainee's mind when they're sitting in a seat in your conference room going through a training process. And what they'll tell you is that after 1 hour of training, people will forget approximately 50%
Wow.
of what they learned during that training session. And if you think about as the time continues, what happens is up to 2 weeks later, they may not be able to easily recall up to 90%. And this isn't just my rule, and this isn't recent research. This is research that's been tested time after time. So why is that? If you're an organization that just does predominantly in-person training, here's what happens. Somebody's sitting in that seat, they come in, people start trickling into the room. And what happens is they sit down and the speaker gets started, and it's Barb or Joe or somebody that they're used to seeing doing the training day in, day out, over and over and over again, all the time. So they're immediately, here we go again. Their mind's not peaked like, oh, who's the speaker today, right? Their mind is, here we go again. More safety training, more operations training, whatever it is. And so they start to tune out. Some people may be engaged, maybe you're new hires because they've not heard it before. But still, that average person in the seat daydreams. They're thinking about all the work they have to get done and why am I sitting in this room? They're thinking about, I hope this doesn't cause me to run over today or whatever, because I have a kid's soccer game today. They're just daydreaming out the window, looking at how nice it is, and they'd rather be out there.
Yeah.
So during those moments where people fade in and out, they're not completely engaged with the content that you need them to know to see how their puzzle piece fits into the rest of the organization. So what we've talked to our customers about are best practices. And one of those best practices is to continue doing what works for you. If you like that connection of in-person training, then do the in-person training. But what you should also do is figure out a way to deliver microburst training, short, quick refreshers within 30 days every week on a Monday at exactly 8 a.m. Everybody on that team gets 5 minutes of a refresher of what they did during that training session at the beginning of the month.
Okay.
This way, every Monday, they're practicing recall of what that training session was about. And they're thinking about what they're doing today when they recall it and how I can reuse it. And what we're trying to do is create habit. And once people get into a form of habit, they start to understand how they fit in that overall puzzle picture every day. And it becomes second nature to them. So you need to take a quick look at how you do your training. When was the last time that you shook it up and did something different? When was the last time that you thought about the forgetfulness curve and how much are people really remembering post-training session? And what can I do to help them recall the important information that they need to have in order to do their job? So take a good look at training. Now, of course, at Ving, being a big proponent of the learning of stomping out the forgetfulness curve and really empowering people with the right knowledge, we have a library of 1,000 courses. We have all the Natural Stone Institute courses. We have tons of OSHA courses, and you can use those as full length, but you can also define what your optimal microburst is. So if you want to, you can literally say, take this 15-minute course and break it down into 5-minute safety toolbox talks and deliver it every day of the week or every Monday at exactly 7 a.m. to this group of employees. And our process it'll automate it for you. And then you'll be off and running with it. And so it's really it's a great way to mix up what you're currently doing and then use a technology to sustain that process to get it done.
Wow.
So the second area that I would focus in on, Stephen, is compliance with operations and policies. So we all have new hires. They go and they meet with a mentor, and the mentor, shares a bunch of information with them on how to use the equipment correctly or what not to do when you're in this area of the business, dangers, right? Or how to prepare how to shut the equipment down and clean it at the end of the day so that it's ready to go at 8 a.m. the next. It's a lot to retain and it's a lot to learn. And so people feel anxious. I'm supposed to remember this. Well, I don't know about you, Stephen. Do you like feeling anxious?
No.
No, nobody does, right? But if you've got a new job and you want to do good and you want to keep the job and you're supposed to remember all of this stuff, you feel anxious when you can't recall it or know how to. Not only that, sometimes you might even be scared you're going to get hurt.
Yeah.
We're talking about fabrication shops. You could die if a slab falls on you, right? You could get hurt if a forklift runs in your way over your toe or something like that. You could damage a piece of a slab that causes tens of thousands of dollars of delays. And so you get like this very sense of like, I belong here, but I feel disconnected. I don't know exactly how all my puzzle piece limbs fit into the big picture. So now what? I go to find my mentor. I can't find them. Maybe they're off today, busy doing other stuff, whatever it is.
Yeah.
So when we talk about the area of compliance, we talk about ensuring people that have access to on-demand information in each of those areas that I just kind of highlighted to relieve anxiety, empower somebody to do a safe, quality job to the expectations of the employees. So here's an example. With the Ving platform, you can generate a QR code and associate it with any information. You can associate it with an inspection sheet on how to inspect an overhead crane at the beginning of your shift. You scan it, it automatically shows you, do these 10 things to ensure that your crane is ready for safe operation. Or maybe your job was to clean the equipment at the end of the day. Well, you can't quite remember, can't find anybody to ask. Get your phone out, scan the QR code, and there's a short video tutorial on how to clean the equipment and make sure it's ready for the 8 a.m. shift.
So these QR codes are on certain types of equipment that they could just scan?
Yep. In the Ving platform, you click
Very
a button,
nice.
you upload videos, you upload step-by-step process, you create smart checklists, and then you press a button to generate a QR code. And then what people do is they print them off on industrial stickers and put them right on the side of the crane or the forklift that somebody needs to operate. Yeah.
That's very nice.
Well, and then the neat thing about it is that when I complete that process, I'm checking some boxes as the frontline worker. If I answer any of these questions unfavorably, it will automatically send a message to a supervisor who can take proactive action and make sure that, whatever needs done. So either the equipment's ready or nobody gets hurt is taken care of, and then they can resolve the issue. So let's say you have a line of like 5 people that need to do inspections every day. They come in, they scan their QR code, they do their inspections. Well, then as the supervisor, I come in, all I do is look at my dashboard and I look at the 5 names and I can see they completed all their inspection sheets. I can even see the answers that they chose.
Yeah.
So it helps me to sustain my process as the person accountable for safety and quality in the shop. And it helps by automation through technology. And it helps that frontline worker feel empowered that they're going to find the information they need for the right task at hand. Long gone are the days of us, waiting to search Google to find an answer, or researching information way ahead of time because I might do something on Thursday. We live in a world, I don't care what generation you are. When you have a problem right now or a task right now, what do? You go to Google, say, how do I do this? What's the best way to do this? And so our workers who are in the field, away from the office, or on the manufacturing floor trying to keep up with the schedule, if they have access to on-demand information, it's embedded. That's how they grew up. That's what they know how to do. So the Ving platform helps to really put that information at their fingertips and make it available to them.
Wow, that's fantastic. Yeah, I mean that's the instant, I need this information, scan, I have it, boom. I mean, that's fantastic.
Yep.
I mean, they might look it up on Google, do something like that. That's going to take time. They're going to go through. It's just going to throw them completely off. Plus, like you said, safety measures. If this can help make the environment more safe, that's fantastic. I do have a question though, because what you said about the micro burst of training, is there any like research? Because I could probably use some of this for my own company in terms of just like tactics like that. Is there anything that or have researched or something out there that says 5 minutes is good, 10 minutes, half hour, is there anything?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So we track best practices. So one of the things that we do, if you're a Rockheads Group member, Natural Stone Institute member, or any one of our customers, all you have to do is call into your assigned Ving support team member and ask them, what is the best practice for this type of position? What is the best practice for this type of course? And they'll share stories with you on proven areas, proven ways to get that information to people. But the average person, regardless what they're doing, has a shorter attention span than a goldfish these days. Google that. It is true. It is true. So when we talk about trying to keep someone's attention, you better have a clever way of doing it.
Yeah.
So most of our microburst settings, from end to end, courses, I should say, or chapters, if you will, microburst setting, are 7 minutes to complete. So what that means is the average person can receive it and complete it within 7 minutes.
Okay.
It might be a 2.5 minute video to watch, a visual to look at, maybe a picture of compare it this right way, wrong way, and think about it. And then 2 or 3 assessment questions to answer, and then get correct answers so they're not just watching a video for 7 minutes. They're working on a nugget of information during that 7 minutes. And that's key. Because when we say microburst, a lot of times people just think, oh, watch a 7-minute video. No, we're talking about it coming and going engagement, right? So watch a video. It's coming in. Now I want you to visually look at an infographic or something that's going to recap and add to the value of the video. Now I'm going to ask you 3 questions and expect that you're going to get them correctly. Right? Get it correctly to measure whether or not you were retaining. Now, the neat thing about Ving Microburst is that on the back end, that supervisor, safety manager can see on their dashboard, did you get it, watch it, complete it, understand it, score high enough, and then decide what to do. Using our pinpoint scheduling, they can sit down, like they have 15 minutes today. They can go ahead and tee up microbursts to go out, like every Tuesday morning at the beginning of the shift for the next 6 months. So they can kind of set it up and then just wait for notifications to tell them, when things are going.
Yeah, it's kind of set and forget. It's automated. It goes out at that certain times. They don't have to. Then they get alerted when something's complete. That's fantastic.
It's all about helping them sustain that process. So thinking back to our 3 biggest challenges with skilled labor, new hire ramp up, and sustaining process around compliance. That supervisor, safety manager is wearing so many different hats and getting pulled in so many different directions. They have very little time to work all the sustaining, processes in to make sure that people are, staying safe and adhering to company policy with all of their operational procedures that lead to quality products. If they can automate some of that stuff, doesn't mean that the human touch goes away and the human conversation goes away. It
Yeah.
just means that 80% of it can be handled by watching a quick video or scanning a QR code to get a quick refresher. Think about how many times somebody comes to track you down to ask you the same question that 20 other people asked you today, right?
Yeah.
Uh, some of
Yeah.
it is pretty simple stuff, and people would rather just get an answer on their own than bother you anyhow.
Yeah, no, that QR code idea with scan it, question video pops up, or
Yep.
that's genius. That's fantastic. That's
It's spot on. Yeah,
yeah,
it is spot on,
that's
right?
really good. Yeah, I have a funny story. When I worked in IT like 15 years ago, I guess, might have even been longer. I don't even remember. But I lived in New York. That's where I'm from. I worked for an IT. I worked for a New York, public facility, and I was in their IT department. And like a couple of times a month, we would have trainings. And when you were talking about training and no one really paying attention, this went off of my head. And we would all sit around a conference table. There'd be some chairs around there as well, like on the outskirts of the room. And one guy would literally, the training would go, bam, his head would go back, and he was out cold sleeping. And it happened every time, and it was just, it no one seemed to care. But it's like,
people get really good at figuratively sleeping with their eyes open. And
I mean, this guy didn't care, but I'm sure there were others that
I do a lot of in-person training.
Yeah.
And I follow a cadence of trying to do something different every 5 minutes in the training.
Yeah.
Otherwise, people just zone out. And
and
you have to take accountability for that as the business owner, as the trainer, as the supervisor. You can't just say, you must stay awake, right? Or you must pay attention. You've got to deliver something good. So one of the things that's neat about our training content is we deliver a hybrid training process. So you can use all of our training content online, full course, microbursts, toolbox talks, or you can use it in person and it's ready to go. So if you're the supervisor and you got to go in and hold up a PDF and read off of it to somebody, wouldn't you just rather launch the projector and have the Ving training content ready to go? So all you got to do is click on the video, it plays for your audience. Then we suggest the questions that everybody should talk about. Then we show the infographic, and all you do is you become an subject matter expert facilitator for your company session. And so when people ask questions, you're there to answer them, but your training is ready to go. And then another little use of the QR code, which is kind of a neat little best practice, is you want to have people take a little test at the end to see if they were paying attention. They scan a QR code on the tabletop, and it retrieves the test. They answer the questions, automated scoring, automated attendance taking. So all your stuff is in one place when OSHA comes a knocking, or a workers' comp issue comes up, or you need to show, hey, we've got our act together. What information do you want? It's right here.
That's
Compliance, training. Yeah.
Yep. Nah, that's fantastic.
Yep.
So, talking about fabricators, what can they do next? What are the 3 target areas and questions they should be asking right now?
Yeah. So literally in these 3 challenging areas of skill scarcity, new hire ramp up time, and sustaining processes around compliance, wrapped around creating a heightened sense of connectedness and engagement in a way that empowers your employees to do a quality job safely and help the big picture of the business. It's simple. It's not simple. It's 3 simple things that take some time to do. Assess, discover, and implement. So take a look at and assess your training and your processes around compliance. What have you done lately? I mean, within the past 30 days, past 6 months, past 12 months. If you haven't touched those processes and tried to improve upon them anywhere within the past 12 months, then odds are they're in some type of repetitive motion that people are getting so used to that this is where error starts to come into place. So it's very analogous to the sign that you have hanging on the shop floor wall that has been there for a year, and you ask somebody, well, don't you see that sign over there that has, it has so many uninjured work days on it?
Yeah.
They're like, what sign is it? And they go, you walk by it every day. Oh, that sign. I remember, for the first, when it was hung there and it was brand new, I saw it. This is like a picture in your house. You ever move a picture in your house from one wall to the other? All of a sudden, it's like a brand new picture. You ever buy a brand new red car? All of a sudden, you see red cars everywhere. You never saw them before, right?
True.
So it's the same thing. If you haven't changed up that process, then what's happened is complacency sets in and people don't see what's right in front of them. So you need to really assess that. And how you assess it is by looking at best practices from your colleagues. And again, members of the Rockheads Group, members of the Natural Stone Institute, members of IEC, HVAC associations, whatever it is, talk to people and figure out what their best practices are, and then bring those best practices back and do some discovery. How does this best practice fit into my organization? And how can I make this best practice my own, right? So maybe there's 4 steps to it and you need to add a 5th, or maybe there's 4 steps and you don't need the 4th. So you customize that best practice in a particular area. And what I always tell people is find one area to start. Start with one training course. Start with one area of compliance for equipment operations or inspections, and apply that best practice there and see what kind of results you get. Talk to the people that have to do the best practice. Allow them some ownership, empower them to contribute to modifying that best practice to fit their day-to-day. What went well? What didn't go well? How might we modify it? We still want to change it up. So let's think outside the box in relationship to what you're doing here at our company.
Yeah.
And then learn from that experience, and then find another area in training and compliance. Use a new tool like a Veng platform to automate the process. If you can't automate it in today's world, it is almost impossible to sustain it. Automation doesn't have to mean that everything I do is getting done by a computer. Maybe the inspection gets automated, but everything I do is by hand, right? Maybe there is opportunity to automate further than just doing everything by hand. We do that all the time. CNC machines, right? Stuff like that. So there's different ways to take a look at those best practices through your assessment of what other people are doing, discover how they apply to target areas in your organization, and then think about how you can implement. That's the third thing. So assess, discover, then implement across an entire manufacturing line, or across an entire receiving process, or across an entire new hire process. How might you update your new hire training to boost up engagement, to boost up retention, to boost up the effectiveness of recall, and then measure the results. We always need to measure the results and decide, what are your measurements going to be? Are they going to be personal, financial, or reduction in something, right? Personal meaning the employee connection to the process. Is it a winning process? Is it working? And can they sustain it? Is it doable to them? Financial, did it help save money? Less rework, higher profits, whatever it is, things like that. And then just make sure that process can be sustainable over time. And all of a sudden you found these little pieces that you just worked on through your assessment have now become like Lego pieces, and they've built into something bigger, and you're seeing an overall impact. And the employee having the sense of ownership in this process, that frontline worker, is invaluable. Giving them that recognition across the organization once it's up and running and producing results is so key to adding to that sense and that feeling of connectedness.
Yeah.
And ownership and pride in what they do.
Yeah.
So there you have it. All right.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fantastic. Yeah, I like what you said about start with one, one training module or piece, one safety measure, start with one and then build from there. Because I think, with any part of a business, you try to do too much at once, nothing ends up happening, and then you just don't make any progress. So, building blocks, start simple and then build from there.
Yeah, we are very happy to work with people on that kind of approach. So literally, if anybody out there is listening and they want to take a first step in any of the areas that we talked about today, our customers start with us in all different variety of ways, anywhere from microburst skill related training, like from the Natural Stone Institute built into our platform, or OSHA related training, all the way to, what we're going to do is we're going to use the Ving platform to do beginning of shift inspections and see how that goes. And then take a next step, roll forward from there.
Cool. Very good. Very good. Well, yeah, thanks so much for joining up, jumping on today and giving us some good information. What are the next steps in turn? I know someone could go to vingapp.com. They can request more info about your software, but what kind of happens after that? Is there a consultation? Do they speak with someone, one of your representatives?
Yeah, so the very first thing we do is what we call a discovery session. And really it's very much focused on the individual on the other line of the phone and their business. Through a series of questions, really understanding what their goals are, what their target areas are, what their timeline is, what they've tried before, what their existing process looks like today. Just making sure that we understand before we prescribe, right? Yep. And then we share some best practices and examples of how people engage with us, see what sticks, and recommend some starting points. Really, it's very simple. So a discovery session is typically a 45 to 60 minute call with the leadership or a leadership person at the company. And then we decide on where to go with there. I will tell you that we boast a 90% plus retention rate. Our customers stay with us for a very long time. We have awesome content, awesome features, and the right approach to working with them to be an extension of their team and really help them out. So we take a lot of pride in listening and then providing value in the right areas.
Very nice. Very nice. Yeah. Sounds like such a fantastic platform. So definitely check them out at vingapp.com. Again, I thank you for jumping on today. I love that 7-minute burst, but it shouldn't just be a video. It should be something else. I'm going to actually implement some of those tactics in my own business. And we'll have you on again at sometime in the future, see where you guys at, and take it from there.
Okay. Thanks so much. All right. Have a great day.
No problem. So, of course. It was great information. Make sure to check out Rockheads at rockheadsusa.com. And as a member, you'll be able to collaborate with other members there and take your shop to the next level. You can apply right on their site. And if you want to grow the retail side of your countertop shop, head over to our site at countertopmarketingcode.com and book a free strategy call with myself. And that's about it. I'll see you on the next episode.
Thank you so much for joining me on this episode of the Countertop Success Podcast. And make sure you head over and subscribe to us on YouTube, Apple iTunes, Spotify, and all the other major podcast platforms. Now, if you're looking to grow the retail side of your countertop business outside of word of mouth and referrals, then go over to our website at countertopmarketingcode.com and book a free strategy call with me. Also, when you're on our site, check out our free training section and you'll find a ton of helpful resources that you can use to help grow your countertop business. Again, thanks so much for listening, and I'll see you on the next show.